Hello and welcome to the SP Show. My name's Tatton. Goodness me, what's a week? We're going to bin off the regular structure of the show because we've got so much to get into. Let's do this. Okay, first up, we're going to talk about guilt. Don't switch. I know I say guilts and you're like, oh, there's a video about cats, right? Guilts matter. I'll tell you why. What guilts are is it's the cost of borrowing. What they are technically is it's how somebody pays for borrowing and you buy a gilt. Don't worry about that. What matters is that when the gilt price rises, it costs the government more to borrow money. And as you know, we do a lot of money borrowing. We used to borrow a lot of money and people go, oh, hang on team, we're borrowing a bit much money here. And then someone invented COVID. Did someone invent COVID? I don't think someone invented COVID. Whatever happened, COVID came along and our borrowing went kaboom! Which, needed to happen. Almost everybody agrees it needed to happen. But we now have this massive debt. And if the cost of servicing it, that sounds naughty, but get your mind out the gutter. If the cost of servicing that debt goes up, we have to pay more money. And the thing about having to pay more money is that we haven't got any money, which is awkward. So what we need to do is raise taxes. That'll get us some more money, and then we can give that to whoever we have to pay for the gilts. Or we could cut some services. Close a swimming pool or two. Whatever it is that we can cut to make more money. And then we don't put the money there, we give the money to the gilts. But Rachel Reeves has said she won't do either of those two things, which is awkward. Because if you haven't got any extra money and you don't raise taxes and you can't cut spending, what do you do? Does the country go bankrupt? It sounds like a boring thing, but actually, we could see Reeves abandoning the rules that she said she would never abandon. Or if she can't, is Keir Starmer gonna have to get rid of her and bring in someone without those rules? This could get really, really interesting really, really quickly. One reason we all get a little bit nervy when people talk about guilt is because of what happened after Liz Truss's mini budget, Kwasi Kwarteng's mini budget, after all that fandango. So what happened then was the gilt prices rose like a lot, but also the pound fell a lot. And that created all kinds of problems. At the moment, the pound is falling a little bit, but nothing. We're not even close to what was going on then. And that's interesting right now because you might remember this, but Liz Truss became Prime Minister after beating Rishi Sunak in an election, a leadership election for the Conservative Party. She became Prime Minister, she did the mini budget. Straight after that, there was a massive crash in the economy. You might think that she did the mini budget and then there was a crash in the economy. You might be sitting there thinking, oh, it's probably Liz Truss who crashed the economy. Well, stop thinking that. She has lawyers. She genuinely, I'm not even making this up, this is genuinely true. She has sent Keir Starmer like a legal letter, cease and desist. That means a letter that says you've got to stop doing this, because he keeps on saying that she crashed the economy and she blames him for the fact that she lost her seat as an MP. That's just incredible. It's an incredible thing to do. I mean, she says, just for the record, she says that it wasn't her that crashed the economy. It's all the left-wing civil service and bureaucrats. It's the state-run media. It's all of these people that stopped her from being able to do the policy properly.
I do want to challenge this phrase, crash the economy.
So to say that she crashed the economy is a lie, and Keir Starmer, you better stop it, young man. Or she did crash the economy and she's got a false idea of her own actions, which seems unlikely to me. Keir Starmer has said he's not going to stop. He's not going to stop it. You have something called parliamentary privilege, which means that when you're in the House of Commons, you can say whatever you want. You can't be sued over what you say in the House of Commons. So he could not repeat it, but then go to PMQs and stand in the Commons and just say, this Truss crashed the economy, this Truss crashed the economy, this Truss crashed, as many times as he can before it's I mean, I've got 3. I think I did. But if he does continue to say it outside the House of Commons, she could take him to court. That's what a cease and desist letter says. It says, if you don't stop, we're going to court. Imagine. I want this to happen so very, very much indeed. I want to see Liz Truss taking Keir Starmer to court for saying that she crashed the economy. I mean, of course it won't happen. None of my dreams come true. I don't know how tuned in you are, but we've just started a new year. Okay, it's now 2025, whereas, like, not that long ago, 2024. It's clever how that works. Labour, being clued up, have noticed that it's a new year. And once again, we've seen a relaunch. We've seen the Labour Party, the government, trying to start this year as people who are doing the right thing at the right time. This week, we've had speeches on the NHS. We had Wes Streeting and Keir Starmer on the NHS. We've had David Lammy talking about small boats. We've had a bill in the House of Commons about schools and children and well-being. And then next week, they got the Renters Reform Bill is back. That's going to stop no-fault evictions. That's going to give people more rights, so that when they rent somewhere, it's still a home, not somebody else's house. Oh, we've got private schools. We're doing more to stop tax breaks with private schools. A mental health bill coming through the House of Lords. Spoiler, I think a lot about mental health. I really care. I'm bipolar, right? So it's just me thinking about myself. It's totally self-centered. This mental health bill isn't the one. I presume there's another one coming further down the line. This one. It's not the mental health bill that you and I want. But they're out there, they're doing these things. But it's not worked. I mean, we're going to talk about things in a minute, but like David Lammy had this keynote speech, and it was talked about for weeks before Christmas. Last year, people were talking about when David Lammy comes out with his big speech on foreign policy so that he can take control, if that phrase isn't tarnished, he can take control of the Foreign Office and show what a Labour government does. It was so boring. It was so boring. He said, oh, we're going to get behind Ukraine. Oh, we're going to be mean to Russia. Get the hostages back and get Israel to behave themselves. Nah, like he didn't say anything. Do you know what? He didn't say anything that a Conservative foreign secretary wouldn't have said. Oh, except for all the times when he said how bad the Conservative Party were. It was the most disappointing. And then I was like, okay, maybe the question's going to be good. Because sometimes the best part of a speech is when the media get to ask questions, or the other MPs get to ask questions. They didn't show them on any TV channel. They cut away. They cut away to talk about fires, and they cut away to go to outbreaks, or they cut away because no one was interested in what he had to say. I've never seen a major speech like that where they haven't stuck around for questions. It's incredible. The Foreign Secretary has so little to say, he can't hold our attention. It's just the state of it. So they tried to launch all these things this week. It hasn't worked. They've got to go back to a few things next week and hope they do better. They are trying. Keir Starmer is trying really, really hard to get our attention, to show they're doing the right thing. Nothing so far this year, and let's face it, we're only a couple of weeks in, nothing so far this year has worked in the slightest. Right, stop. It's been miserable so far. It's been a miserable week, except for the Liz Truss stuff, which is quite funny. But apart from that, it's been a miserable week. So here's some good news. It's just pure good news. Last year, in 2024, 30% of all our electricity came from wind. 30%. It was the single biggest generator form, I don't know the term, the way that we got, and it was the single biggest one. Wind. You know, the one. Like when you turn your lights on, it's wind that does it. Also, 2024 is the first year the whole planet has warmed up by more than 1.5 degrees. Climate change is real and it's happening. Only way to stop it is to reduce the greenhouse gases, the carbon emissions going into the atmosphere. And yes, there are issues. Yes, India is famously opening a few, coal power plants every minute or whatever it is, as a China, all that stuff. But look at the progress we're making right here. Look at what we're doing. We should be global leaders on this windy island that we've got. We should be proud of that 30%, and it should build. And this government has already stopped. They've got rid of a ban on onshore wind. So we're going to get more and more wind power. We're going to get tidal power. These big solar panels everywhere. I know solar panels are controversial, and you're welcome to have your own opinion on them. But if we're getting our power, our electricity, all of it, from the wind and from the sun and from the tide, that's really cool. We can't do this video without talking about grooming gangs. It's been the only story this week, apart from fires elsewhere. It's been the only story this week because the Labour stuff didn't go anywhere. No one paid any attention, no one cared because of this grooming gang stuff. Let's go back to Sunday. On Sunday, Nigel Farage was on Laura Kuenssberg's show, and he was asked about comments that Elon Musk had made. Because Elon Musk had made these appalling comments about Jess Phillips and Keir Starmer. And Nigel Farage didn't condemn him. He said, we disagree, and Nigel Farage is disagreeing with him over Tommy Robinson. Mostly that's the thing they're disagreeing about, right? We disagree, but I stand by the right to free speech. And Elon Musk is a hero, said Farage, is a hero for bringing back free speech because of what he did on Twitter, whatever he's called it now. Later that afternoon, Elon Musk tweeted, like, we've got to get rid of Farage. Farage can't run reform. The guy knows nothing about UK politics, right? The guy knows nothing about UK politics. If he did, he would, he's met Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage met him last week, and still he comes out and he says Farage has got to go. He doesn't get UK politics. He doesn't care about you. I don't know what's in it for him. For me, free speech is great, but if you're attacking somebody, just name calling someone a witch, you're getting it wrong. And the fact Nigel Farage didn't condemn that violence. Anyway, this grooming gang thing was growing ahead of steam. The Conservatives were getting on board, and they want an inquiry, a national inquiry into child grooming gangs. There has already been a national inquiry, the J inquiry, then the J report, but that was into child abuse in general. Reform and the Conservatives are saying, we now need a report specifically into, an inquiry specifically into child grooming. This is where it all kicked off. Oldham Council wrote to the Labour government saying, can we have the national review? And Labour said, I think this is better done locally. And this has sparked all this up. And the government say, we don't want another review. We want to get on with it. We want to do things. We want to actually start protecting women and girls. Now, all of this is going on. Then there is a bill on Wednesday, and this bill, it's about well-being for children, and it has things about going into care, and it has things about keeping families together, and it has things about taking families apart when necessary. It's there to safeguard children. The Conservatives said, right, we're going to put in an amendment, which is like a change to the bill, that's going to demand an inquiry into child grooming gangs. But that wasn't true. That's not what that amendment would have done. It's a little bit technical, but it was the second reading, which is the first big debate of a bill in the House of Commons. And if an amendment goes in then, the whole bill is done. There is no bill. If they're serious about it, they could have introduced that amendment in 2 weeks' time, in committee stage or in report stage. That amendment could have been made, but they want to make it now. And it's not just the Conservatives whose heads have been turned. On Monday, Yvette Cooper went into the House of Commons and announced stuff about child abuse. Are we expected to believe that that's the timetable it was going to be always on that Monday. It's nonsense. She did it because of all the nonsense before that, which means that she is allowing Elon Musk to dictate the timetable of this government. Elon Musk is obviously playing reform with his social media. You see the Conservatives obviously playing into it, but also our government. It's just a really sad state of affairs. And then after all of that, I mean, the Conservative amendment got voted down. The Liberal Democrats abstained. But good news is, on Thursday, there was a debate, general debate, allowing everybody to come in and talk about violence against women and girls, because it's a genuinely important thing. And that debate had been put in well before Elon Musk turned up. And there were lots of very heartfelt and important points made. No one from Reform was there. So Reform's talk about how this inquiry was all about protecting women and girls, they didn't turn up. You know what? We carry on. It's what Parliament does. It carries on. Because governing is a long-term thing. We'll respond to, someone's got to respond to this guilt crisis. We carry on. And that has been our first show of 2025. Next week, we'll have rabbits and unicorns and joy, and we might just play a record and just dance for a bit. I've heard dancing videos do very well. Not necessarily when I'm dancing, I don't think. But, you know, maybe we'll just next week, boogie on down. For sure. That's what we're going to do. See you next week. Love you, bye.